The room went silent the second the envelope touched the bench. Judge Judy had been leaning forward, ready to cut through another lie, when the old man across from her reached into the inside pocket of a frayed charcoal coat and pulled out a white envelope, folded soft at the edges from being opened too many times. His hands shook, not dramatically, just enough to tell you the shaking had been there a long time. Across the aisle, the woman suing him rolled her eyes so hard it was almost theatrical. "He does this," she said. "He tries to make people feel sorry for him." Judge Judy didn't look at her. She looked at the handwriting on the front of the envelope for the judge. "If Grandpa Ray needs help." That was the moment the case stopped being ordinary. Because 5 minutes earlier, this had sounded like the kind of ugly little dispute daytime court sees every day. A 68-year-old homeless veteran named Raymond Doyle was being sued by his daughter-in-law, Nicole Turner, for $4,876. Broken drywall, unpaid utilities, a missing generator from a detached garage behind her house in Hemet, California. Nicole, 39, said she had let him stay out of kindness after he fell on hard times and claimed he repaid her by becoming belligerent, destructive, and impossible to remove. Her boyfriend, Dean Rojas, Dean Rojas sat beside her, nodding with the kind of confidence people have when they think the camera will protect them. But from the first 30 seconds, Judge Judy saw what they didn't. Raymond wasn't defensive. He wasn't slippery. He wasn't performing. He looked like a man who had spent too long being disbelieved and no longer had the energy to decorate the truth. And what looked like one bitter family housing dispute was about to turn into something far uglier. A dead child, a drained disability payout, a paper trail of quiet extraction, and a woman so certain she could frame a veteran as a burden that she brought him onto national television thinking nobody would ever ask where the money went. If you appreciate stories where power finally meets consequences, stay with this one, because what happened next did not just ruin a claim. It exposed a pattern. Raymond Doyle had served 22 years in the Army. Bosnia, Kuwait, Iraq. A back injury ended the career. PTSD complicated the rest. His wife died in 2022. The apartment went soon after. The VA appeal over his disability rating dragged for 16 months. By the time the money finally came through, Raymond was living between a church shelter in San Bernardino and the back seat of a 2008 Ford Ranger with 214,000 miles on it. Nicole Turner was his late son's widow. That mattered a lot. She told the court Raymond moved into the converted garage on her property in June of 2024 because she didn't want him on the street. She said he promised $600 a month in rent and never paid it. She said he screamed at her children, punched a hole in the wall, and left with her generator after she gave him 30 days to go. Dean added that Raymond was unpredictable and probably intoxicated half the time. Judge Judy narrowed her eyes. Probably is not evidence. Then Raymond spoke for the first time. "I never took care of myself," he said quietly. "I took care of my grandson." Now the room was listening differently. The grandson's name was Owen Turner. 11 years old, acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Diagnosed the previous year, 3 rounds of treatment. Weeks at Children's Hospital Orange County. Nicole had said almost nothing about him in her opening statement, just one passing line, like she hoped the detail would slide by unnoticed. But Raymond's face changed when he said the boy's name. Not grief performed for sympathy. Something heavier. Something settled. The kind of pain that has already done its damage and no longer needs an audience. Judge Judy asked the obvious question. "How much money did you give them?" Nicole answered too fast. "Maybe a few hundred here and there." Raymond looked at her, then at the bench. $42,180. You could feel the air change. Nicole laughed. Dean smirked. It was a bad mistake. The people who lie best usually know not to be amused too early. Judge Judy held out her hand. "Show me." Raymond had a grocery bag full of papers, bank statements with folded corners, cashier's check stubs, pharmacy receipts, parking validation slips from C.O. She, yellow legal pad notes in block handwriting. The kind of records people keep when they know one day they may need to prove they were not crazy. The timeline was brutal. On January 18th to 2025, The VA deposited $42,180 in retroactive disability back pay into Raymond's account. By 4:12 that afternoon, $17,500 had gone to Children's Hospital Orange County. Over the next 9 days, another $8,300 went to prescription balances, gas, and hotel stays near the hospital. Then came 2 cashier's checks to Nicole, one for $6,000, another for $4,200, both memo-lined mortgage help. Utility bills for the Hemet property followed, all paid from Raymond's debit card. A transfer to Dean for car repair followed that, then another for groceries, then another for school clothes for Owen. Nicole's mouth tightened. Dean stopped smiling. Judge Judy tapped the stack with one finger. So when exactly did he become a freeloader? Nicole tried to pivot. That money was for family. He owed us for living there. No, Judge Judy snapped. What he owed you, if anything, is not the same as what you took from him. That should have ended it. It didn't, because Raymond hadn't handed over the letter yet. That came when Judge Judy asked why, if he had paid that much, he never demanded a written agreement or receipts. Raymond stared at the desk for a long second. Then he took out the envelope and said, "Because he asked me not to make it ugly." Judge Judy opened it. Inside was one sheet of lined paper folded into thirds, blue marker, child handwriting. Dated August 6, 2025. Dear Judge, if Grandpa Ray is in your court, it means something bad happened, and he probably won't say what people did because he always says don't make trouble. My grandpa sleeps in the chair when I'm sick and says soldiers don't need beds when kids are scared. He sold his truck because Mom said we were drowning. He told me not to worry about money because grown-ups figure things out, but I heard him crying in the hallway one night when he thought I was asleep. If people say he is mean or crazy or useless, that is not true. He is the reason I was not alone. Please believe him if he doesn't know how to explain everything. Love, Owen. By the time Judge Judy reached the last line, her voice had gone thin. Nicole looked down. Dean stared straight ahead. One woman in the audience covered her mouth. The bailiff blinked hard and turned his face slightly away. Raymond didn't cry then. That was the worst part. He just sat there, jaw locked, like a man who had already used up his visible grief in private places where nobody was watching. Judge Judy folded the letter once, very carefully, and placed it on the bench. When did Owen die? She asked. September 14. Raymond said 1 month. Just 1 month before Nicole filed the lawsuit. That was when the story stopped being about unpaid rent and damaged drywall. That was when it became about motive. Judge Judy asked the court officer to pull up the text messages Raymond had submitted. Nicole had objected to them earlier. Now you could see why. One by one they came on screen. Nicole to Raymond, February 3, 8:11 p.m. Can you cover electric again? I can't have it shut off with Owen in the house. Nicole to Raymond, March 9, 6:02 a.m. Please don't tell Dean how much came from VA. He'll think we're okay now. Dean to Nicole, accidentally forwarded in a screenshot. Raymond preserved, September 22, 11:47 p.m. Once the old man's broke, there's no reason to keep him in the garage. There it was, not emotion, not interpretation. Intent. And then came the detail that changed everything. The generator Nicole claimed Raymond stole had been pawned by Dean 3 weeks before Raymond was locked out. Raymond had the pawn slip because it was in a toolbox Dean dumped with the rest of his belongings at a church parking lot. Same serial number, same make, same unit. Judge Judy leaned back and looked at Dean the way surgeons look at scans before they explain how bad it is. So you pawned your own generator, blamed him for taking it, took his money, used him while his grandson was dying, and then you came here to collect another $4,876. Dean started talking over her. That was fatal. I didn't know where the money came from. I don't care if it came from the moon, she said. You don't get to turn a grieving old man into your ATM and then sue him for standing in the doorway after you drained him dry. If cases like this make you think, let me know in the comments, because the legal part mattered here, but the moral part was impossible to ignore. Nicole tried one last escape route. She said Raymond had frightened her daughter. Judge Judy asked for dates. She had none. She said there was property damage. Judge Judy asked for repair invoices. None. She said there had been rent due. Judge Judy asked where, in any message sent, while she was requesting hospital money, she mentioned rent. Silence. Then Judge Judy did what she does when someone confuses kindness with weakness. She dismantled the whole thing, sentence by sentence. She dismissed Nicole's claim in full. Then she granted Raymond's counterclaim for the maximum allowable amount, $5,000, for wrongful withholding of property and bad faith filing. She ordered the immediate return of his military trunk, medals, service records, and the remaining contents of his storage bins. And before she moved on, she looked directly at Nicole and said the line that stayed with people long after the episode ended. "Your son wrote a better character reference for this man at 11 years old than you managed as an adult with every advantage." Nicole broke then. Not from innocence, from exposure. Dean looked furious, but fury is what arrogance turns into when it can no longer control the room. What happened after the cameras cut made the story even harder to forget. A veterans legal aid group in Riverside saw the broadcast and helped Raymond file an elder financial abuse complaint. A housing nonprofit placed him in transitional veterans housing within 3 weeks. The church that had been storing his duffel bags helped recover most of his belongings. And the letter, the one Owen wrote in blue marker, was laminated and kept in the inside pocket of Raymond's next coat. That matters because stories like this are never really about a single courtroom or a single family betrayal. They are about what happens when dignity becomes invisible the moment money runs out. They are about how quickly people start calling sacrifice failure once it stops being useful to them. And they are about the rare moments when somebody in authority is patient enough, sharp enough, and honest enough to force the truth into daylight. In the end, the most devastating thing in that courtroom was not the ruling. It was the contrast. A decorated veteran who had almost nothing still knew how to give. 2 healthy adults with everything handed to them still wanted more. And all it took to expose the difference was one small letter from a dying boy who knew exactly who had stayed beside him in the dark. That is why people cried. Not because the case was sad. Plenty of cases are sad. They cried because for one brief, unsparing moment, the room saw the whole country inside that bench, the applause we give service, the neglect we give suffering, and the terrible ease with which some people mistake a wounded man for an easy target. If you believe no one is above accountability, remember this one. A woman came to court asking for money. A veteran came with a folded letter. Only one of them left telling the truth.